Welcome back, everyone! Today we are jumping right into a brand new explainer, and it starts with a truly bizarre micro-story. I mean, we're talking about a tiny, seemingly insignificant incident that actually serves as a gateway into a massive, multi-billion-dollar corporate ecosystem. Okay, so let's dive into this. We're looking at a situation where a literal piece of pocket change triggered a chain reaction, completely exposing systemic failures that touch millions of lives globally.
So I want you to start by asking yourself a question. Would you lose your job over $2? I mean, really, imagine risking your entire livelihood, your reputation, your daily routine, all over a piece of pocket change. It sounds completely absurd, right? No rational person would ever make that trade. And yet, as we're going to see, the rigid systems governing modern labor can sometimes create environments where common sense is just, well, it's completely thrown out the window.
Which brings us to Section 1, the $2 cookie. Let's head over to the Ford Motor Company's Kentucky truck plant where this incredible story actually unfolded.
The exact amount we're talking about here is $1.95. This is the story of Kromm, a 60-year-old electrician. Now, during a grueling 12-hour overnight shift, Kromm, who happens to be diabetic, felt his blood sugar dropping. So he went to the break room to buy a $1.95 chocolate chip cookie. When the self-serve kiosk flashed a red error screen, he figured it was just a glitch and swiped at a second terminal. Well, a week later, he was called into his supervisor's office, literally accused of theft, and escorted right off the property. They didn't even let the guy grab his tools.
You really have to consider the staggering disproportion of this punishment. I mean, Kromm wasn't some new hire. He was an 11-year veteran with a perfect attendance record. And because he was averaging over 60 hours a week, he was pulling in roughly $200,000 a year. All of that, his career, that massive income, his flawless record, just thrown away over an allegedly unpaid snack. He actually told them, if you wanted to get rid of me, you could have just asked. Why are you doing this over a cookie?
This leads us to Section 2, kiosks and union failures. Let's look at where the supposed protection was in all of this.
Now, when an employee is wrongfully terminated, you totally expect their union to step up, right? But instead of fighting this zero-tolerance policy, the UAW representative allegedly just told Kromm to apologize. When this story hit Reddit, it sparked massive outrage. Workers on the platform were expressing deep frustration, basically claiming that in situations like this, union reps sometimes act way more like company HR than actual advocates for the workers. One user even pointed out that the days of union stewards shutting down assembly lines to defend a worker feel long, long gone.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer brick wall of corporate bureaucracy. On one side, we have Kromm's concrete proof. He produced screenshots of his bank statement showing the $195 debit card charge actually cleared. He paid for the cookie. On the other side, you have Ford and the vending operator's unyielding policy. Even with the proof right there, Ford didn't just reinstate him. Instead, they demanded, through the UAW, that he go out and get a notary's signature to prove the authenticity of his bank statements. Seriously. So what actually caused this whole mess? Well, the glitch. Workers report that these breakroom payment kiosks are notoriously unreliable. They routinely show false red error screens even when the transactions actually go through. They decline cards, demand multiple swipes, fail to print receipts, the whole shebang. And according to Kromm and other workers, at least 5 other employees at the plant were fired under the exact same zero-tolerance policy because of these glitchy machines. It's literally created a climate of fear where workers are terrified to even buy food in their own break room.
So, who actually operates these problematic machines? Let's get into Section 3, the giant behind the kiosk.
That vendor is Aramark. And looking at their timeline, they definitely didn't just pop up overnight. Founded way back in 1936 to service aviation plants, they grew so massively that by 1968, they were servicing the Mexico City Olympics. Today, they've evolved from this tiny vending service into a publicly traded global juggernaut.
The absolutely crucial point here is the sheer scale of this entity. We are juxtaposing a $2 cookie with a corporation generating over $18.5 billion in annual revenue. They employ nearly 280,000 people and operate in more than 15 countries. When you're operating at this massive macro level, a glitchy breakroom kiosk is barely a blip on the radar. But for the worker on the ground, that glitch is literally life-ruining.
And as we dig a little deeper, we find these glitches aren't just an isolated incident. This brings us to Section 4, a track record of trouble.
The sheer breadth of Aramark's clients is incredible. I mean, they manage janitorial services for public school systems in Chicago and Texas. They hold massive contracts with state departments of correction in Ohio and Michigan. They run concessions for the National Park Service, serve food on Amtrak trains, and even manage direct provision asylum centers in Ireland. They are deeply, deeply embedded in public and private infrastructure all over the world. But, of course, with that kind of scale comes some pretty significant oversight challenges.
For example, investigations into Aramark's food service contracts in Michigan and Ohio correctional facilities uncovered some very serious food safety issues. This included the discovery of maggots in food preparation areas. There were widespread reports of substandard food, skimping on portion sizes, and even labor disputes involving employees smuggling contraband. Ultimately, all of this led to hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines levied by state governments against the company.
And the issues extend beyond food. In 2023, a tragic incident occurred at the historic Wawona Hotel in Yosemite National Park, where Aramark actually manages the concessions. According to a National Park Service report, a guest fell from a porch after a railing completely failed. The really alarming part? The report noted that Aramark had been repeatedly ordered to repair documented extensive deterioration and rot of railings prior to the incident, which highlighted some very serious claims of negligent maintenance.
Internationally, Aramark has also faced immense backlash in Ireland regarding their management of direct provision centers. Now, these are places where asylum seekers most live while their applications are processed. Activists and university students actually launched boycotts against the company over unacceptable living standards. In one highly publicized 2018 incident, Aramark was forced to apologize after a mother from Zimbabwe was strictly refused a simple slice of bread for her sick child, all because of incredibly rigid operational rules.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the true cost.
Tying this entire narrative together, the ultimate takeaway from this explainer is the profound system disconnect we're seeing here. On the micro level, you have an individual worker, a human being trying to manage his diabetes during a 12-hour shift, punished by a glitching machine over $1.95. Then on the macro level, you have Ford posting $10.4 billion in profits, Aramark pulling in $18.5 billion in revenue, and massive union structures. The systems are just so large and the bureaucracy so unforgiving that common sense and basic human dignity often just get crushed in the gears.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. When massive corporations and powerful unions control the entirety of the system, who actually holds them accountable for the glitches? Whether it's a faulty break room kiosk, a rotting railing in a national park, or a union rep telling a wrongfully accused worker to just apologize, where does the buck actually stop? It's a question that goes far beyond a $2 cookie, striking at the very heart of modern labor and corporate power. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking the hard questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.